Hey guys, how you guys doing out there? Just going through my portfolio, seeing how I'm going to actually deal with this inflation going on. And today's topic, we're going to be talking about inflation. So hopefully I can share some light into the topic, teach you guys a little bit along the way as to what inflation is, and hopefully show you how to protect your portfolio against inflation. So all of that coming back. Stay tuned. So if you're here, it's for a few reasons. You want to know what's going on with inflation, or if there's no shame in saying this, maybe you think it doesn't affect you, or maybe you have no clue as to what inflation really is. Either way, I'm going to try my best in the shortest possible amount of time to explain everything. Now I know throwing up numbers here doesn't really tell the whole story as to what's going on with inflation. But in order to understand what is going on, we're going to throw up some numbers and explain along the way. Now, unless you was living in Mars or under a rock, everyone knows that 2020 was a pandemic year. We are now in May of 2021 and we're still in a pandemic. We are not fully out of the woods as of yet. Now, if you could go back and try to remember, the US economy shut down in May. We started to see states after state shutting down due to the pandemic. We all remember those pictures of those essential workers risking their lives so we all could be safe. The price index in May of 2020 went to 256. So what does that mean? Well, basically it means that the economy was in a crash mode last April and May, so prices collapsed. Nobody was really doing much with most states on a lockdown, so jobs started to cut down on their staffing that they needed inside their office spaces. In the state of New York alone, more than half the tenants either moved out of their spaces or downsized to something smaller. Remote working and Zoom meeting took over the world. Not to mention people were doing wet Zooms at some point in time. Look it up if you don't know what that means. Small businesses were forced to shut down their doors. No revenues coming in whatsoever. So why is inflation showing its ugly face now? Well, remember those months that we were shut down? Guess what? They compare them with this year. So the economy this year took off like a rocket. Don't believe me? Let's take a look. The all-item index experienced its largest increase of 4.2 since September of 2008. The used cars index was up 10% in April, its largest increase since 1953. The core index, which is things like food and energy, was up 0.9 in April, its largest increase since April of 1982. Higher inflation is usually looked on as a negative for stock market because it increases borrowing costs, increases input costs like materials and labor, and reduces the standards of living. Inflation means you need to pay more for the same goods and services. Let's assume a scenario here. People have to constantly get a raise to keep up with the prices of goods. High inflation is also not good for people who have long-term investments in banks, as it may erode the value of their money. So, if wages increases with inflation, and if the borrower already owes money before the inflation occurs, the inflation benefits the borrower. This is because the borrower still owes that money or that amount of money, but now there's more money in their paychecks because of our scenario that we were just playing along with. Inflation leads to malinvestment. When prices rise, the value of certain investments increase faster than others. For an example, prices of existing house, land, gold, silver, other precious metals, and antiquities increases with higher rates of inflation. These firms may have to struggle with rise costs for several years. We're talking about firms like the airport transportation. The increase in oil prices is causing the rise in jet fuel prices, hurting earnings for many airline companies. Food retail, apparels, appliances, newspapers, consumer products, enterprise shipping, mining, consumer electronics, petrochemical. So, what can we do to protect ourselves from inflation? Continue to invest in the stock market. Equities investment is an effective inflation hedge because the stock market tends to outpace inflation. Rethink emergency fund plans, review debt balance, and get rid of them. I know this sounds like a lot to do, and I know it sounds like so much to do in such a little bit of time, but trust me, investing is the only way you're going to beat inflation. Hopefully, I did a pretty good job of explaining inflation to you guys. So until the next time, don't forget, more gains, more gains, more gains. Giving it your maximum effort, maximum effort, maximum effort, maximum effort, maximum effort. Peace out.